In this video, I'm going to convince you that digital IDs are a terrible idea. I believe that if Australia brings them into law, it will be the turning point that takes our country down a path that it can never come back from. The UK is under the grips of this right now. Their government's trying to sell it to them, and the people aren't having it. Digital IDs are the next step in a world without freedom, of programmable obedience. We are currently following their plan, a trajectory that should absolutely scare the shit out of you. It is all about control. It is all about Big Brother watching you, and it all begins with digital IDs. I mean, maybe, or nothing happens. But it's the ability to do these things that may stem from these decisions. In the UK right now, 12,000 people last year were arrested for social media posts. Opinions are controlled. Freedom of speech, non-existent. And that's exactly what is happening in Australia right now. Fast forward a few years, we will be seeing exactly the same thing, I think. And then somewhere down the line, one world governments, Orwellian states, no freedom, central banking, nothing being owned privately. All these ridiculous conspiracy theories that were once held by kooks are now mainstream possibilities. That's scary. To understand why I think that a digital ID is a bad idea, you must first understand as much as you can about something called a social credit score. I'm sure you've heard that phrase before, but what is it? Let's go to China and find out. In China, the government began developing a national social credit system in the 2010s. Now, its goal was to build trust in society by tracking its citizens and companies' behavior using data from banks, courts, police, and they have this enormous constant monitoring service with facial recognition. They are following with millions of cameras every single person as they move throughout their day. These people get scores put against them, higher or lower. Some people get blacklisted based on the things that they do. Some people achieve really high scores. Some people get very low scores. People who are untrustworthy if they break the law or they show dissent towards the government get very low scores. Low scores mean consequences. Consequences like not being able to travel, having to pay more for gas or petrol, not being able to use certain internet sites, getting slower internet, having to pay more for food, only getting access to certain types of foods. Some of them can't get loans, they can't get access to credit, they can't get certain jobs. They are being controlled in what they do because of things they have done. Now, some of those things may seem like, okay, yeah, sure, some people shouldn't be able to do certain things, but the dissent against the government, that's not a good thing. If you disagree, if you're a sovereign citizen, if you disagree with the whole idea of democracy, should you have to pay more for milk than me? Of course not. Should you not be able to get a car? Of course not. Should you not be able to live a normal life just because of your beliefs? Of course not. You get credits when you're good, when you follow the rules, when you praise the government, and you get punished when you don't. They have created a system of mass surveillance that causes mind control. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it is. Thought control, controlling opinions, controlling conversations. That is what they are doing. In the West, we do it as well all the time, but they're doing it through some different means, a social credit score. They have created a two-tier system of life. The top tier being based on control and compliance, the bottom tier being the bad people, the ones questioning things. And think about the things over the past 10 years or so, or 20 years, or your entire life that you've questioned the government over. Imagine not being able to do that. Imagine being punished in your real life because of those things.
A good score brings benefits, but people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens.
See, that's fine if they're actual criminals, but what are they being blasted for?
It's a matter of principle. Those people have to be condemned.
Yeah, okay, it depends why they're being condemned.
Those people aren't honest, so they have to pay the price.
It's only right to pay your debts. You have to blacklist those that don't.
Okay, so is this about people not paying back loans or what?
The Supreme Court has created a blacklist for so-called bad citizens, those whose ratings have dropped to zero.
Wow.
On it are companies, but also 23 million people to date.
23 million people on the blacklist.
Among them is this journalist, Liu Hu. He got a little too close to uncovering corruption among high-profile party members.
Oh.
After being sued for defamation by the subject of a story he'd written, he was blacklisted. But he only realized when he tried to buy a train ticket and was told he was banned from traveling.
Now, put yourself in my shoes, making this video about the Australian government. What if they could control where I could go? They wouldn't, but what if they could? What if they had the ability in 5, 10, 15 years from now to do that? They could do that. This is another thing. You may think that it's a great idea and this government, you love this government, but what happens if this government changes hands, which it will in the future? And if you're a left-wing person, a far-right government comes in, or if you're a right-wing person, a far-left government comes in. See what I mean? You don't know who's going to be in charge of the laws that you celebrate right now in the future. And if they are questionable now, they will be fucking questionable in the future as well.
That tells me I'm still on the blacklist.
Punished because he's been branded untrustworthy by the state.
So this is the whole thing with untrustworthiness. What does that mean? It can mean a lot of different things. It can mean you're a criminal and you rob people, you steal from old grandmas, or you uncover corruption.
Once you're blacklisted, you can no longer get a bank loan, start a business, buy an apartment, or even send your children to a private school.
So this is what happens when you have a social credit score. So why is the digital ID the first step towards that? Why do I think that this could happen, potentially? Not the government now. No, they're great. But maybe a government in the future. On top of all of this, there is the idea of carbon footprints and individual carbon footprints. Hey, we've seen you at the supermarket 3 times this week buying meat. You've had enough meat this week, mate. No more meat for you. You can't buy meat because it's affecting your carbon footprint too much. You've driven too much this week. You've caught too many planes this year. No more for you. Being able to identify exactly who you are at every single step throughout your day, and then implementing surveillance and then implementing control is a great way for you to lose every single sense of freedom that you currently have. And if you don't believe the governments will do that, then you're a fucking idiot. And the reason that I think the digital ID could, and many other people think this, by the way, this is not an original thought by me. The reason that this could be the first step is you have to have one to access life. That's what they're doing in the UK. In the UK, for you to work legally there, you have to have a digital ID, right? Even though you have to prove you're a citizen to work there, and people get around that now, and they'll get around this, whatever. In Australia, they're going to do it in a different way, potentially, maybe, possibly, who knows? Probably not. No, they're great people. In Australia, they're banning social media use for people under the age of 16. But you somehow have to then prove that you're over the age of 16 to use Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Right? So how do you do that? Well, you have to create a digital ID that proves exactly who you are. And then you can be tracked through everything you do. Sounds great. And then on top of that, accessing help through the government, you have to have a digital ID for your car, all this other type of things. These will be laid out into the future. So everyone will have to, at a certain point, have this ID. And it really doesn't matter what you think or what I say in this video. The UK had a petition, 2.5 million people or more wrote in a petition, signed a petition for the UK government to consider that this is not a great idea. And the UK government's reaction to 2.5 million of their citizens signing this, if not more, nah. No thanks, not interested. We've made our decision. Shut the fuck up, all right? Go back to work, you fucking pieces of shit. Or words to that effect, I guess. I am not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, okay? Maybe it's not going to be as hectic as 1984, right? It's not going to be this big brother watching over us, controlling everything we do. But there is no doubt in my mind that we are losing freedoms. And I don't want to be that fucking conspiracy guy, okay? I'd like to be somewhere in the middle. I think it's healthy to have some level of question absolutely everything, but don't question everything all the fucking time. It becomes painful. But at this point, you got to think to yourself, what the fuck is going on here? Like right now with the Digital ID Act, it's voluntary, right? But banks telecom companies, airlines may require it in the future. People are trying to sell this as a convenience. Like, it's so much easier to show your ID to someone or prove who you are just with this. It's on your phone. Look, but what happens next? You won't be able to access Medicare in Australia. You won't be able to access Centrelink. You won't be able to access banks, all that type of shit. Potentially, possibly, allegedly in the future without this. The government right now probably won't use it to track you. They probably won't. But a lot of things can change. We saw that in the early 2020s. A lot of fucking things can change. This doesn't just happen overnight, but it also does. We sit there and we think, no, this isn't that. This isn't happening. It's not that bad. And then one day we wake up and go, fuck, how did this happen? Like, it just happened randomly. It doesn't happen super quickly, but it appears overnight. It's very, very strange. Like, it happens in steps. First, they've released the Digital ID Act, and then they start to say, well, you should have it. It's helpful. It's easy. And then everyone starts to get it. And then, well, you have to have it to do this. And then, well, you have to do it to get the internet. And then, you know what? Your digital carbon footprint's a little bit heavier than other people. Maybe you should tone it down. And then, you know what? We have an outbreak of an illness. You can't leave this area. You can't do this. You can't travel there. It all happens under our fucking noses. So we must watch for warning signs, I guess. Watch the private sector. When do they start demanding that we use it? Because when they adopt it, that means it's mainstream. When do these scores, the first time someone starts mentioning scores, trust scores, all these type of scores, then you have to fucking freak out. This isn't about left wing versus right wing. It's us versus them. And I don't believe that people go into government to be bad people or control other people, but it's something about power. When people get power, they forget who they are. We need a revolution in this country, and I don't mean taking to the streets. We need a political revolution. We need people who genuinely care about every single person that exists on this fucking planet and come up with a way that we can look after each other. And that starts with freedom. That starts with allowing people to be adults and looking after themselves, not dictating what they can and can't do. And I fear and I worry that this digital ID could be the next step, probably not the first step, but the next step in this operation that is all about control. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Be a good motherfucker. Peace to the Middle East. Be the extinct. Toodaloo, au revoir. Bye-bye.